Growing up in a community of poverty, at the age of 14 years old, I actually turned to barbering to escape this. My cousin had an internet cafe in Eldorado Park, and I asked him if I could make use of his stoop to mimic a pop-up barber. So I can remember only having a clipper and a chair, nothing else. And when I started, people came out in numbers, supporting me on the stoop. In a space of 5 years, we opened 8 stores across our country. Yes, not everyone is called to build in such a timeline. Everyone has a calling upon their lives, and your business needs to be your assignment. The profit that you make within your business is just a translation of your purpose that's executed well.
So welcome to the second ever Age Growth Investee Day. My name is Nolu Bonela, but you can call me Nolu, and I'm very excited to be your MC today. Maybe just a little bit about myself. I head up one of the 6 funds under management at Age Growth, the Age Action Fund, which supports Black-owned SMEs with enterprise and supplier development funding. That's debt funding up to 10 million Rand focused on the growth of those businesses. And I've spent over 16 years trying to back South African SMEs. This has been from venture capital to risk finance, property investments, banking. So when I say that today's agenda is of personal interest to me, I genuinely mean it. My day-to-day work has been at the intersection of getting capital to get businesses to grow, and that's been finding the right entrepreneurs to back, funding those businesses, and trying our best to make sure that that capital then translates into returns, growth, revenue for those businesses. I'm going to jump right into our first speaker, our keynote speaker. We open today with someone whose story is one of the more remarkable ones in the South African business world. And I say that having read a lot of business bios. Sheldon Tatchell is the founder of Legends Barbershop. He started with a single chair on a sidewalk in Aldos, and now Legends operates over 80 stores and is recognized as Africa's leading grooming franchise. That's not a small journey. That's the kind of journey that gets written about and spoken about on world platforms. In 2024, Business Partners named Sheldon and Legends Entrepreneur of the Year. In 2025, the Super Lead Awards named him Outstanding CEO of the Year for Strategic Excellence. He's spoken at the YPO Global Impact Summit in Vietnam, at Standard Bank Franchise Networking Summits, as a guest lecturer at Gibbs, at the ABSA Youth Entrepreneurship Dialogue, and as lead speaker at the Yoko Merchant Keynote. So we really value the level of keynote speaker that we have today to learn from and hear about his journey. What makes Sheldon particularly relevant in this room is not the number of stores, it's how he got there. He didn't just optimize a supply chain or a franchise model, he built a brand that people feel something about. He built it on experience, on identity, on the kind of loyalty that no marketing budget can establish for you. His framework for doing that is something he calls the Legends Blueprint, which at the heart of it is about scaling through operational excellence and extreme customer centricity. So this combination of access to markets and skills is what we're here for today and what he's actually lived through. So looking forward to hearing from you, Sheldon. Please put your hands together and give a very warm welcome.
That's a mouthful of introduction. Good morning, guys. How are y'all doing? It's good to see all your lovely faces. You're looking amazing. And thank you very much for the invitation. I'd like to share my story with you. Is that fine? Okay. So my name is Sheldon. I come from a community called the Eldorado Park, which is the south of Johannesburg. I'm sure you're familiar with it. And growing up in a community of poverty, at the age of 14 years old, I actually turned to barbering to escape this. I learned this skill by visiting different barbers in my community and visiting them all the time and just trying to figure out exactly how are they able to cut their hair. Sometimes these guys would chase me away, and I'll just return with a bottle of Koring as a bribe for my next lesson. But as simple as it sounds, that was the best way for me to learn something I love. So fast forward, my cousin had an internet cafe in Eldorado Park, and I asked him if I could make use of his stoep to mimic a pop-up barber. So he agreed with the condition that I only come on weekends because the landlord is not around. So I can remember only having a clipper and a chair, nothing else. And when I started, people came out in numbers, supporting me on the stoop. I wondered what makes me so special compared to the barber that's right across the road from me. Somebody that has been in the barbering game for much longer, to my own assumption. So putting my investigation skills to the test, I then went across the road and I went to go see what these guys are doing. I realized that for them it was much more of a monitored transaction. So I cut your hair, done, next customer, cut your hair, done, next customer. And when people came to come sit on my chair, I had a notebook and a pen. And I used to write down the name of the person, the conversation we had, and next time that person would come sit on the chair, I would make reference to that. And that was my first unique selling proposition. Yes. You're allowed to clap hands. I see the guy at the back. So whilst cutting hair on the stoop, a friend of mine could also cut hair. So we shook on it and we said, we are partners today. And we got the space not far away from where the stoop was. We approached the landlord and we spoke to him and we asked him if we could lease the premises. And he told us, guys, there's no lease here. If you don't pay, you're out. So we said, okay. So we launched our very first store on the 3rd of September, 2011, getting guys from the community to come and assist us with the skill. And on our quiet days, which was Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we decided to go out to the old age homes and to the schools. We done this as a matter of giving back to the community. But what came out of it was so significant is that why not name the barbershop after the old people? Because they are actually the legends of our community. And there's a reason it's called Legends Barbershop. So that very same year, on the 4th of December, I got married. Yes, ladies, I'm married. So when I got married, my partner showed me with his words. He said, Sheldon, it's fine, go away on honeymoon. I got everything under control. So I trusted his words and I went away 6 days. And I came back, the doors were closed. I called him, but he never answered. But I called one of the guys that was working there, and he explained to me the sad news. He says, Sheldon, this guy never paid the rent. But to make matters worse, he never paid the commission of the barbers as they were getting paid daily. So standing in front of those closed doors, realizing that I've lost everything we worked for this past couple of months, just left me feeling devastated. Thinking to myself, who am I to really think I can make a career out of cutting hair? So I left barbering right there and then. You see, I worked in a job. I worked at a company called Standard Bank. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. Yes, I work at Standard Bank. And at Standard Bank, they gave me this job title, like this fancy title. I was named an account management consultant. Sounds very fancy. As a matter of fact, I was a debt collector. I used to call you when your account is in arrears. That was me. But nonetheless, using it as a stepping stone for what's next. I was reading a verse in the Bible at this particular time, in Ecclesiastes 11 verse 6, that said, do not let your hands be idle, for you do not know what will succeed. So work at it during the day and work at night. So my understanding of that verse brought me down to working from 8 to 4. And I thought I actually have free time after hours and weekends as well. So I then decided to get myself a scooter and drive up all across Joburg and be named the mobile barber, going out to customers, far as the east, west, on the scooter. I can remember this one story of a time when I got to this one customer's place. I saw he was trying to call me, but I couldn't answer. And I arrived at the boom gate, and I called him back, and he told me, Sheldon, there's load shedding, we can't cut. So now, as an entrepreneur, you turn around, you're despondent, But there's this idea that comes to mind about this mobile bus, electric bus. It's like fully equipped, you jump into it. And this idea, I went home and I started sketching. I started sketching exactly how I want this bus to look like. Yes, that particular bus right there. I said, this is exactly how I want it to look like. There was one problem, I never had money. And exactly 5 years after I wrote that dream, that vision became a reality. And that's the bus right there. Yes. Yes, not an aeroplane though. Please. Not yet. The following year, I then decided to relaunch Legends Barber. Gaining the trust of the guys that was working at the first store and deciding to go it one more time. I was reading a book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, that said that I am the captain of my ship. I'm the master of my fate. So we launched on the 26th of July, 2014. And when we relaunched, I remember a week afterwards, I'd attended my resignation at the bank. I told my manager that I'm leaving to become a barber. He laughed at me and he said, whenever you need your job back, please do not hesitate to call me. But I never looked back from there. Our goal was to open 5 stores in 5 years. And with no capital, no resources, there's a verse that I love so much in Luke 16 verse 10 that says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much. And whoever can be faithful with very little can also be faithful with much. In a space of 5 years, we opened 8 stores across our country. Yes. Yes, there we go, yes. And around 2019, we also ventured into franchising as well, with our first franchisee being a close friend of mine, and we opened his first store in our 10th store at that particular time. And we all know what happened 2020. COVID happened and we were hit for 4 months. We couldn't trade. And during this time, you had enough money to at least pay salaries and rentals. Whilst being able to accommodate this, there was about a cash balance of around 97,000 Rand that was left in our bank account. And I felt God speaking to me, is like, why are you hoarding on this money? Why are you keeping this money when there's people out there that's struggling and is going to bed without food? So I felt compelled to send my guys out into the community and buy food parcels and go distribute to those in need. And we done this wherever we had stores. What came about it was so significant. When we came back from COVID on the 25th of June, 2020, our stores were overflowing with customers. You see, we have a capacity of serving 150 people per store. And on this particular day, over 400 people were lining up just to get haircuts. Yes. That's the people right there. Standing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so I truly believe that whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you do, you work at it with all your heart, as you're working for God and not for men, because you know that your reward comes from above. So today, Legends Barbershop has opened 81 outlets in 5 different countries. Yes. Yes. And we have, next one. Okay, so remember that the notebook that I shared with you, and I said that I took down the name of the person, the conversation we had. So now our barbers are more advanced than like I was, and they actually take down the name of the person on our mobile app, and it synchronizes, so wherever a customer goes into a store and get a haircut, it's able to pick up, and any person that you cut actually gets that engagement to say, this is the conversation we had the last time. Yes. So you might be familiar with Legends Barber on the socials, maybe your kids as well. might be familiar with Legends. And also we have our own product range as well, our product range which is based in Discount Clicks and Spa. There we go, there we go, there we go, we get in there. So a couple of years ago I got a call from a radio station, and there was this whole thing that was happening within South Africa. Many guys were getting these ugly bumps behind their head, and everything was discrediting the barber that was cutting on the side of the road. You know, it was widespread. So this lady asked me the question, and she said, "So Sheldon, should all these people start cutting their hair at Legends?" And I said, "No. Let's think about it for a moment. Put yourself in the shoes of that guy that's cutting on the side of the road. How much does that guy make in a day? 50, 60 rand? What is his first priority? To feed his family." So it got me thinking as to what can we do about it. So I then started investigating on how are we able to support these barbers, not only from where we are, but trying to figure out exactly how can we contribute to their lives and give them equipment that's ready for them to use. So this made me launch a company called the Fade Company. So the Fade Company, besides all the bells and whistles of the particular product, one thing that I'm more passionate about is what the Fade Company stands for. You see, for every 10 clippers that's sold, 1 pack is being donated to the barber that's cutting on the side of the road. Yes, there we go, there we go. So 2024, I'm sure you heard Nolu mention I won an award, the Entrepreneurship Award, Entrepreneur of the Year Award, and the cash prize was around 250,000 Rand. And I felt compelled to do something about it. And with this money, I invested in the marathon that takes place once a year within my community, which is the Township Marathon. I ran this marathon that very same year, and at that particular point, there was only 800 runners that ran in. And for us, we saw that this is an opportunity and a vehicle for change, and why not be part of this? So when we invested in the marathon, we renamed it to call the Legends Township Marathon. And the following year, on the 23rd of February 2025, with our very first event, there was over 3,500 runners that participated within this marathon. This year, I'm not sure if many of you ran the marathon, but this year there was over 5,000 runners that ran this particular marathon, with over 36 vendors, most of them being able to sell out their product and service. And this is an opportunity and a vehicle for change. So you might be familiar with this face on social media, and you heard all the accolades. Yes, there we go. Yes, there we go. So I'm also elected as the chairperson of the Franchise Association of South Africa. But one particular thing that I'm proud of, and I hope that you just take this away, one thing that I'm most proud of out of everything you heard today is we upskill youngsters from the community that does not have an opportunity. If you look at the unemployment rate within our South Africa, we're standing at a 68% youth unemployment rate. And it's not that these youngsters don't want to work, it's the fact that there is no opportunity. And we're taking these boys and girls within this training center, and we all know the saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, but teach him to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. And this is exactly what a training center does. We transform boys and girls into men and women for our society. And at this particular point, we have managed to do this on a scale of over 16 training centers, training over 2,000 barbers that not only works in Legends, but in so many different stores. So thank you very much, guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day today. That was me.
Thank you so much, Sheldon. That was genuinely really inspiring. And loving the message of community is where the idea of the business came from. The community is what drives the growth of the business, and your focus is on giving back to your community. We'd like to just open for a bit of Q&A, so please hold on to this mic.
Okay.
And I'll rove around with this mic. Please introduce yourself and then your question.
Hi everyone, I'm Avi Maja from Bruce Delivery. At Store 8, Sheldon, when you opened these stores, and if you look at the distribution, you went into the areas that which was quite broad, Durban, Sun City even. What drove your decision to go the franchise model?
Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. Such a vital question. So the one thing that reaching about 9 stores. So we got about 9 stores. And while I was busy upskilling my staff to be like Sheldon in the stores, to be the person that serves customers, to be this person that loves the barbers, that wasn't particularly working because they didn't have an invested interest within that particular store. And only person that can have an invested interest within your business is somebody that has equity in your business. And that's the reason why I started franchising. And I went on this franchise journey, and it started out, as you can see, our 10th store was a franchise. And once we started franchising, I needed somebody to be like a Sheldon that would work within the store, that would serve the customers and to do all the things that Sheldon would do. And I think for much of it, the benefit outweighs everything else because you give, but I'm telling you right now, the benefit of being able to build sustainability around your brand is so important. And the split currently, we still have, out of those 30 stores, there's a 30% of chunk that we still maintain for ourselves. The reason why we still maintain these stores, not only because it's profitable, but because it is, we see it as an opportunity to make tweaks and changes. So if we introduce new systems, new products, new ideas, and we want constant feedback loops, immediately, right now, we are able to tap into our stores and go make those changes. Thank you.
Question on the side.
As you were upscaling that day, when you said you were like servicing about 100 clients a day, and now, boom, you have 400. How did that make you feel, and how was that day like?
That's such a vital question because with scaling also comes responsibility. And like I shared, whoever can be trusted with a very little can also be trusted with much. And how I felt was, I felt a sense of responsibility because, you know, as entrepreneurs, you're going into this mode of keep on running, but you're not doing the reflection of actually what transpired during that time, because that's the time when you get to experience your business on a whole new dimension. And for us, it was truly inspiring, and I think at that particular point, I needed to go back to the drawing board and come up with a different strategy, because the same thing that brought you here is not going to get you there.
My name is Nicole from Investee. I just wanted to ask about, you mentioned that you went on a honeymoon, came back, your shop was closed, and now we have over 80 stores. So I just wanted to check what strategy do you use to make sure they're always open. And for people who are starting business, like people who can't afford the rent, some are working from home, maybe what message do you have for people like that to say, how do I keep on having my doors open to make sure that my business runs, even though I can't even afford to pay rent? Because people want to go to a place where it's stable for a business. If I want to use your services, it must be so. What message do you have for people who can't even afford to have their own place to sustain their business?
So your first question was with regarding what do you do when you find yourself and you're struggling in your current business and you're looking exactly how are you able to manage the cash flow? Because now you're just struggling to pay rent, and you're struggling to see how you position yourself. And one thing, because I walked this journey and I experienced exactly that, I went through a season of pruning. And we all know pruning is not the nicest thing to do. Pruning is sometimes painful. Pruning is sometimes difficult. But sometimes the pruning is much better for you to scale moving forward. Because if you're unable to prune, you won't know what is next. So there's stores that we also closed down because for us it wouldn't make sense. There's stores that we're like, you know what, the rental here just is too exorbitant, or maybe the market has shifted. Like for example, like after COVID, we understood that the township market took a knock. So what has happened is that instead of the township having the disposable income like it used to, now they're not visiting the mall as frequent. They're not spending as much as frequent at a particular malls. So now we started doing self-introspection. And I think that's so important as an entrepreneur, because most of the time we looked at outside, but we don't look on the inside. I think that, I hope that answers your question. And so at our particular training center, we just have one requirement. Can anyone guess one requirement? Just one requirement. If you're a youngster and you want to join the training center, there's just one requirement. Anyone?
Enthusiasm.
Showing up, passion, no? Here we go. Attitude. Just one requirement, attitude. That's our only requirement at a training center. So we don't care whether you've been cutting hair for 5, 10 years, doesn't bother us. We don't care where you come from, as long as you show up with the right attitude. And you can imagine what happens with a youngster that shows up with the right attitude and willing to take on the world and say, you know what, I want to learn something new today, and I want to be able to adopt something within my life. And that's the only requirement. And going back to your point, the attitude eventually creates the passion that we build within these youngsters in order for them to go out into the stores so they can perform. And this is exactly what we do within our training center.
I'm Stuart from Edge Growth.
Thank you, Stuart.
I just have a question that actually builds on the last answers. Have you got any examples of people that have come through the training center that have gone on to own a franchise?
Thank you.
How does that look, relative to someone who hasn't gone through the training center and owns a franchise? And then also, the next question is just, what does the next 5 years look like?
Thank you, Stu. Thank you very much for this. So, the testimonies from especially staff as well. So I like to share a story of a guy by the name of Tershan. So Tershan was one of our employees when we only had 2 stores. And Tershan was part of the business ever since, and he built himself up as from being a trainee to being a barber and being a supervisor of one of our stores, which was in Newtown back then. And he worked up and he said, you know what, he's going to save money up one day to actually own a franchise. I didn't believe him at the time because it was too far-fetched. And I won't lie to you, is that today, Tershan actually owns one of the stores in our group as a franchisee, the first very franchisee. And such testimony is actually keen towards building people up. And these type of testimonies, especially when it comes to franchising as well, is that so many people that has gone through our franchise that has grown. I'd like to share another story if possible. There's a lady that started out back in 2017. 2022. So 2022, this lady approached me and she says, Sheldon, my son comes to your barbershop each and every week. And I know I'm making you rich, but I'm spending so much money here. And I would like to actually own my own franchise. And then the one thing she asked me, do I need to be a barber to own my own franchise? I said, no. Okay, do I need to do I need to be able to have business skills? Because I don't have business skills at all. I said, no. Okay. So then we opened a very first store in Northgate Shopping Center. That's actually a store. We opened a very store in Northgate Shopping Center. And I came to the store and I asked her, who's going to be your manager? I said, I'm going to do it. Who's going to be your receptionist? I'm going to do it. This lady. So anyway, we went on and she was at that store each and every day, showing up diligently and opening and closing the store. The following year, she approached me and she said, Sheldon, I've managed to save up out of the profits of this shop. Can I get another shop? So I said, okay, no problem. Let's get another shop for you. This was 2023. Let's get another shop. The following year, the same thing happened. She says, I want my third shop. I say, are you sure? She says, yes, I want to grow. And today, this particular lady has opened 5 stores during this 3 years. It just shows to show that with diligence and hard work, it will definitely get you far if you basically are patient and willing to grow with your business. And I think for most part of it, and I'm staying a bit off, for most part of it, we tend to, and especially as entrepreneurs in the room, is that we tend to compare ourselves so much of what other people is doing, and we tend to compare ourselves with other businesses and other entrepreneurs, and you know, to tell you the truth, I was also in that trap already, in a comparison trap. Who has more, who has this, who has that, you understand, and now you find yourself in this comparison trap. That a friend of mine, I just want to share the story. So a friend of mine, me and him went to business school together, and same opportunity, same playing field. This was back in 2014. And we graduated from business school and he starts his business. I also relaunched my business, as I shared with you. And this guy skyrockets and he does amazing stuff. I mean, he scales his business on numbers and figures aggressively. And today, his business is easily worth it's a multi-billion rand business. And then I started comparing myself with him, saying like, Sheldon, now why aren't you at that particular point? Why are you not there? What's wrong with you? And now I find myself trying to put so much pressure on myself, trying to figure that out. But then the one thing I came to understand, that not everyone is called to build like that. Not everyone is called to scale like that. Not everyone is called to build in such a timeline. Then I came to my senses and I said, everyone has a calling upon their lives, and your business needs to be your assignment. And the assignment that you have, that the profit that you make the profit that you make within your business is just a translation of your purpose that's executed well. And if you're able to execute your purpose so well that everyone can understand your purpose, guess what happens? Now you're walking in your fulfillment. And there's the reason why you feel so fulfilled when you get up in the morning and you serve your people and you do what is necessary to grow your business. And I hope that helps someone today based on my own experience. Is that fine? Okay, thank you.
I've got 2 more questions. Yeah. Last 2 questions, yeah.
Morning, everyone. Melanie Moweni from Lula, Sheldon. Good to see you, my brother.
Thank you, Melanie.
The journey's been inspiring to a lot of us. It's 15 years since you've been at the craft. My question is very simple. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently on your journey from 2011 to today?
Thank you very much, Vilane. Just give a round of applause. Such an amazing entrepreneur as well. What an important question is, knowing what I know now compared to what I should have known in the beginning, is that being able to align much more to the purpose that God has given me. I know it's very deep, but let's make it practical. It was a story that I shared with you, and I shared with you a friend of mine, And I look back on his life, and this is what he's able to accomplish. And I look back on my life, and I look at the number of people that we're able to impact. And I look back to now the focus has shifted from being able to just focus on how am I able to be much more profitable, but to how am I able to be much more purposeful. And when I say purposeful, you saw the initiatives that we do. We invest in the township. I know it does not heed anything towards benefiting the business in a nutshell, but that is purpose work right there. Being able to feed the communities, that is purpose work. Being able to train upcoming barbers for free at no cost. And you do all of this purpose work because you understand that what you have is a gift from God. And only God is able to purpose this and align it according to what He wants for your life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two questions from me. Number one, how did you finance your end growth? And then number two, how do you decide which products or services you need to add to the business for you to grow?
Thank you so much. I didn't get your name?
Palisa.
Palisa. Thank you very much, Palisa. So how I funded this business, and I know many of you all have at least gotten to 1 round or 2 rounds of funding, and it's truly amazing. But I think like in my space, I honestly didn't need funding. And I know that starting up on the side of the road, just with a clipper and a chair, I think God takes you to a process where you actually be able to manage this little. And are you able to manage this 1 rand or 2 rand? So during my 10 years now, it's just been able to reinvest the profits from the one shop, invest it into another shop, and those 2 shops invested into 3 shops, and then eventually it becomes the snowball effect, and now it rolls forward. And I know in the beginning stages, and I'm speaking from experience, it doesn't look viable. But that for me was the best thing for me to do. And I thank God that it happened to me, because I wouldn't understand exactly what it is not to have and what it is to actually look at each and every detail in the business. Because when you're scaling like that, every 10 cents counts. So the next question you said, regarding our product line. So we started our product lines just before COVID, and our products was a matter of customers actually reaching into us and asking us for different styles within our barbershops. It's customer feedbacks. And like, okay, how am I able to make a wave hairstyle? How am I able to bring a certain hairstyle within, you understand? And then we started investigating and we started recognizing there's no product in the market that's actually suitable for this type of hair and this type of texture. So we're like, okay, let's start mixtures and let's go to the drawing board. And we started mixing our products together and started seeing which formulas work, which formulas don't work. And we gave to customers for them to actually try out and test that particular product. So it was only one product that we started out, which is the wave pomade. And that wave pomade was so successful that it grew to so many other lines that we have within our SKU. Right now, we have about over 50 products that we're selling within our SKU, all because of that one product.
We really appreciate how you've taken us on a practical walk through your journey so that we can understand how we can look at our own journeys differently. Thanks so much.